We're talking about what you're talking about. Real, honest, entertaining, live. DBL starts right now.
3, 2.
Excellent job, Patty. Welcome to DBL. It is Tuesday, June 16th. I'm here with Erica, and Lindsay joins us from home. It is Ladies' Day on the morning show. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I have half an eyelash sticking in my eye because I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm dealing with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to get through it together.
Thanks so much. I appreciate that. Linz, how you doing?
I'm good. I told you I stopped wearing eyelashes because I just can't.
I know. I was like, do I do a Lindsay?
I don't have the time to figure it out.
I don't know. I'm like, Jeray, my makeup artist who isn't here. We miss you terribly. We do want to get to this. We are learning more about the deadly police shooting of Rayshard Brooks over the weekend. So a Wendy's employee called 911 worried that Rayshard had too much to drink because he was asleep in his car, but she didn't think he was a threat at all. Let's take a listen.
I think he's intoxicated. He's in the middle of my drive-thru. I tried to wake him up, but he's parked dead in the middle of the drive-thru, so I don't know what's wrong with him.
Is he black? Is he black? Why is he crazy?
Yeah. He black.
Does he appear to have any weapons from where you can see him?
No, I think he's intoxicated.
So protesters burned that Wendy's to the ground. Rayshard's cousin told TMZ their family does not condone violence, but seeing the Wendy's burn was, quote, cathartic. All of this leading to big moves coming out of the White House. I have people in my ear telling me as we speak if Trump is about to sign and when he will a police reform executive order today. We will keep you updated. So this order will create a database to track police misconduct. It also encourages officers to call mental health professionals to the scene and offers federal grants to departments that curtail the use of force. So DBL Nation, we need to know, do you support this executive order, or do you believe that giving more money to the police is not the answer? Go to dblvote.com to weigh in. I have no idea what the vote's going to be. What do you think about this, Erica?
Well, for starters, I just want to throw this out there that there were protesters who were at the Wendy's telling a woman who didn't appear to be a part of the protest.
Correct.
And was not black.
Correct.
Not to burn the Wendy's down. This was an establishment that not only provided jobs in the community, but also a place to eat in the community. The other thing is, when we're talking about police reform was very much something that was on the top of the list during the Obama administration. We talked about this earlier, maybe like a few weeks ago, that the president of the police union in Minneapolis was on record at a rally saying thank you for unshackling us as a police force, the shackles and oppression that was put on by the Obama administration. So clearly we know that there are some protocols that need to be put in place. The question is, what are those protocols? And we're seeing things on both sides being addressed right now.
Do you think, and speaking of that, Lindsay, do you think these protocols go far enough? For instance, had someone like a social worker or a mental health worker just approached Rayshard and said, hey, can we get you somewhere to sleep? Do you need a ride home? That would have avoided costing us a beautiful life. So tell me what you think about this executive order. Does it go far enough?
I think it's a first step. I think it's a good first step, but we also have to remember that this executive order is the same thing as the NYPD having an official ban on chokeholds when Daniel Pantaleo killed Eric Garner.
Very true.
You know, that was illegal, and they still did it, and they still killed him. So what we need is a complete overhaul and complete reform. When you think about it, states like North Carolina and California, just two examples of many states, you actually have to have more training to be a barber than to be a police officer in those states. So we need to really understand why it would take 600 hours to be an officer, but more than 1,500 to be a barber. You know, you have to think about why we need to completely redo and restructure what we're doing and take the power out of people's hands that are abusing it and make sure they understand exactly that you're there to serve and protect.
Interesting point. I just have to say, again, we are very clear about this. Defunding the police literally means reallocating money to other budgets. It's like education, public health, housing, and youth services. So if there's a call for a homeless person, you don't send the cops, you send a social worker, and maybe they can get them housing that night. That is what defund the police is. If you didn't know, we spend $115 billion on the police budget in this United States. That is more than almost every other country's military budget. The viewer vote, just wanted to put that in perspective. We're not talking dismantling, we're just talking reallocation of the funds. So 75% of you say no, this executive order does not go far enough. 25% of you do. I need you to write in and let you know Let me know what you guys think. A lot of you writing in right now, and we'll get to your comments. But moving on to Colin Kaepernick, this is in the news. Finally, could he return to the NFL? It's been 4 years since the quarterback first kneeled during the national anthem to protest racial injustice. He's been a free agent ever since. Well, the NFL commissioner says he's pushing for a Colin comeback. Take a look.
If he wants to resume his career in the NFL, that obviously is going to take a team to make that decision, but I welcome that, support the club making that decision, and encourage them to do that.
Sorry, I think that's BS. I know I'm not supposed to say that, but I think it is. I think he's too little too late, and I think the NFL has not shown anything close to what the NBA has in terms of allowing their athletes at least having a political moment. What do you think?
Well, we know that Colin Kaepernick received a settlement from the NFL for collusion. That statement in itself tells you if he wanted to resume, which means that it was stopped presumably because he decided to protest.
Right.
That's what we all are learning and believing at this point anyway.
Right.
So I'm just going to put that out there. The other thing is, you know, this is what being a pioneer ends up for a lot of people. Then you are the one who has the sacrifice of your career, of your livelihood, of your dreams. What we're seeing now is there's this expedited process, because when we think of people who really suffered in order to make life better and open up doors for the rest of us, sometimes that generation never saw that
Right,
change.
they didn't get
it was
to see
the next
it.
generation.
Right.
So for the idea that he's still young enough to play really shows the power of social media and the digital age. But it's really up to him. Personally, I think you go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated.
Well said. Lindsay, what do you think? I know you're a huge football sports match game fan. I think Roger Goodell is full of BS on this one. I think he's trying to walk back something that he did. Do you think that's true, or do you think it's a step forward?
No, I think that he should be embarrassed. To jump out now is kind of like the brands that jump out and say something in the fourth quarter when you've been doing disservices to people of color for years. So the NFL employs mostly black people, and so a lot of them felt the same way as Kaepernick, were too scared of losing their careers, like Erica said, in order to take that stance. And so to say something now and say, out of all the owners, I mean, this is the MVP guy. This is somebody who's won several playoffs, and he lost 3 years of his career because he was standing up for equality and fighting for equality by just bending a knee. And so for Roger Goodell to act like he was all on board to have him back in the NFL for all this time and that the owners just weren't on board, that's embarrassing, especially when you lead the league. You need to mandate that they bring him back if that's what he wants to do.
I completely agree. I think Roger Goodell should at least address it. If we're being transparent in 2020, say I made a huge mistake, I apologize, I'm learning, but don't just act like, you know what, now he should get to play. I think that's ridiculous. And Aaron Silver of the NBA, I think, does a much better job. Not great than, what's that? Adam Silver, not Aaron Silver. Thank you. See, she knows sports. Switching gears to the pandemic, Adam Silver. We're hearing more grim predictions from health experts about what might happen in the fall. All right, there's a new forecast model from the University of Washington, and it is predicting 200,000 deaths by October, 45 deaths a day, as many states continue to loosen the lockdown restrictions. But get this, say goodbye to in-flight cocktails because Delta and American Airlines, among others, are suspending all or part of their alcoholic drink service in response to COVID-19. Amazon is also making some big moves. They unveiled their new software that detects whether warehouse employees are actually 6 feet apart. Weird. Are we ready for this second wave, Linz, or do you think we are completely underestimating? I think we're going to get a totally new lockdown because we're going to go into a second wave. Again, I don't mean to be Bummertown Tory, but I just want to hear, that's my honest to God thinking. What do you think?
I think 2020 is just going to be an introvert's dream. Just stay inside the house. It's over. Like, there's nothing. It's really, I can't imagine being on, like, even if you're on a plane, it's still not like the seats are 6 feet apart.
Right.
Okay, unless they book like one person per aisle. So it's like, you know, and I can't imagine, I'm one person that doesn't even like to use facial recognition on my phone. So I can't imagine being tracked all around and being comfortable with that also. So it's just a really weird time.
That's the first thing I thought of, is those Amazon workers are 100% getting tracked, because if they know where they are at all times, man, there is zero privacy in that warehouse, shall we say, allegedly. Erica, what do you think about these, I guess, protections?
There are a lot of companies who have already implemented tracking, not necessarily like this, but they're requiring employees to have apps on their phones so that they know where they've been and where they are in the building. So I think that this is just a wave of the future.
Wave of the future. So you think 2020 is it done? You think we should put the Christmas tree up already?
I never say it's over. Never say it's over.
Never say it's over. That's always good to hear. Lindsay and I are like, it's done. Bummertown party.
I can't wait to put my Christmas tree up. Don't get me started.
It's true. You put it up for like 12 months. All right, Lindsay, stick around. Coming up on DBL. The pandemic and protests make for very uncertain times. So how do you talk to your kids, grandkids about the world and around them? A maternity wellness expert weighs in. It's a good idea to listen in if you have kids or grandkids. Plus, a juicy new book reveals the very tense relationship between First Lady Melania Trump and the president's daughter, Ivanka Trump. Wait till you hear what they used to call each other. And as we go to break, another look at our empty studio. Pretty much everyone's working from home during the pandemic. We're taking it seriously, as we hope you are too. We'll be right back.
Time for new reading glasses.
Welcome back to DBL. A new unauthorized, I want to make sure you guys know that biography on the First Lady is shining light on the frosty relationship she has with her stepdaughter, Ivanka. The Art of Her Deal, the untold story of Melania Trump, is out today. Washington Post reporter Mary Jordan wrote the book after interviewing 100 people. In it, she says that Ivanka initially called her stepmother the portrait because of how little she spoke. Meanwhile, Melania refers to Ivanka as the princess due to her entitlement and privilege. Ivanka also tried to have the First Lady's office renamed to the First Family Office, but Melania put a stop to that. The book also claims Melania delayed moving into the White House because she was renegotiating her prenup. The White House, by the way, calls the book pure fiction. Will this new book hurt or help Melania's image? First off, let's just start off by saying it's unauthorized, right, Erica, and say that anything that's unauthorized, we can't say is true or not. Are there rumors that she has a prenup from, oh, hi, Sharon. Are there rumors that we have a prenup with Donald Trump in D.C.? Yeah. And that if he made the presidency, which she didn't think he would, she had to stay for the first term. That is a well-known rumor, again, only alleged, but they seemingly don't have a very close-knit relationship, certainly not that we've seen from other presidents and first ladies. Do you think this book means anything, Erica? Yeah, I know. I'm like, doesn't mean she's sleeping. I have something to wake you up, though. The executive order was just signed by President Trump for police reform, so a step in the right direction, at least. Good news. Lindsay, do you have anything to say about this, Melania? Do you think it'll hurt, help?
Listen, maybe I'm petty, but I really love stuff like this.
Too.
Like, I cannot wait to read the book. I just want to know, like, what's going on. Like, even if it's a lie, like, just fill in the blanks for me. We're never going to understand what goes on in the White House between any couple. Please fill in the blanks for me. Like, I want to know what happens, why they're not always holding hands, what's going on when they got on the plane, or what may be going on. Just fill in the blanks,
We
please.
know. You know we know. We just don't care.
The hand slap.
We know what's happening.
Don't touch me.
Don't. Oh, I was going to use a metaphor, but I can't use that.
Now I want to know.
Don't pour water on my leg and tell me it's raining.
That's
okay?
good for you. Great
I mean,
one.
come on.
Very good. It's true. I don't think we've.
Listen.
Wait, go ahead.
Drench me. I want to know. Drench me.
No, I think, to be honest, it's a fantastic question because it's such a mystery that you rarely.
Is it a mystery?
You think it's?
We don't know. Come on, y'all watch enough Bravo to know exactly what's going on
it's a
here,
complete
okay?
negotiation.
The woman had to come up. She reinvented herself. She came to another country. She found herself a rich man who wanted a woman who didn't say nothing. She didn't say anything until it became a whole national nightmare for her because then she had to, like, do this job that she didn't want to do because she wanted to be a New York housewife. How complicated is the situation?
Don't need to
shady. She's you know, the original, like, you know, that's what she did.
All right.
That's what he did. We all know. We just act like we don't.
Woo.
Whatever.
All right, guys, you don't need to read the book because you just heard everything from Erica. Coming up on DBL, she drenched us. A maternity wellness expert shares some tips on talking with children about the unrest all around us and why they're never too young to get the message. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to DBL. Now more than ever, American households are having difficult conversations. Racial unrest and mass protests dominate headlines, and even for adults, it can be difficult to process what's happening. But how are children feeling? And how do we talk to them about what's going on? Earlier, I spoke to maternity wellness expert Latham Thomas. She said it doesn't matter how old your kids are, the time to talk is now. Welcome maternity wellness expert, author, and mother. She is a queen with many crowns, Miss Latham Thomas. Welcome to DBL, Latham.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Well, it's great to have you. And honestly, we really need a word from you these days because these are very unprecedented times. And at DBL, we often find ourselves having really difficult conversations live on the air. And even as adults, it's hard to process, but you don't really hear much about having that same conversation with kids. So why is it important to be honest with children?
I think the challenge is that people are really hesitant because they don't have the tools, they haven't had these conversations in their own lives, and because they think it's too young to get started.
Now, I do understand that this has to do with how mature and what age the children are. So let's break this down into young children and teens because there are different approaches depending on their age. And is there an age that is too young to talk to them about this? And what is the best way to have that conversation?
I think when we're talking about younger children, one of the first things you want to do is sort of observe where they are. What are they starting to talk about? What we'll find is when children are watching programs or when you're out and about, they might mention, oh, someone has a different skin color, or their eyes look like this, or their hair looks like this. I think these are really important entry points for these conversations about celebrating differences. As children grow and once they get through school, we start to see also these behaviors come out when they experience differences in how they're treated by school teachers, administrators, right? And there's a conversation that happens in the home. Again, that's a great opportunity to talk about how a lot of people have not been exposed to these conversations around anti-racism. So it depends, I think, number one, you know, if you're a parent of Black or brown children, then this is something that you probably have a conversation about earlier just because of society.
A lot of our viewers have teenagers. What if they want to get involved in the movement? What if they come to you and say, I want to be a part of the revolution?
I think it's about really figuring out what works for your family and where your risk friendliness is, you know? So for me, I want to make sure I know where my son is at all times. So I make sure that we have the Find Friends app so I can track him if I don't hear from him for a while. I think it's about really thinking clearly and discussing a plan of action as a family. And also coming up with, you know, what your expectations are as a parent in terms of safety and boundaries for your children and how they will show up.
Right. And I mean, here's the thing. There's no real playbook to what we're experiencing right now. And I think that so many people, especially parents, are trying to figure out a way to navigate how to have the conversation with their kids. Latham, I thank you so much for sharing all of this helpful advice. And if viewers want to hear more from you, you have a new book called Own Your Glow, A Soulful Guide to Luminous Living and Owning Your Glow. It's available June 16th. Again, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you, and we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Welcome back to DBL. It's time for a security alert sponsored by LifeLock. This is important. There is an unemployment fraud crime ring that is hitting at least 7 states, and yours could be next. The Wyoming Department of Workforce Services is the latest target. Several people who filed for unemployment claims in the state later received fake unemployment applications in the mail. People who mistakenly filled them out fell victim to identity theft. Now, if you're filing unemployment claims, keep these tips in mind. First, don't pay to file. There's no fee to file a claim. That's so important. Second, do not respond to demands to verify your identity after 24 hours to process your claim. And finally, don't respond to online surveys offering payment for completion. It's likely a phishing attempt to steal your info. To protect yourself from fraud, call LifeLock at 1-800-495-8730. Man, how low can they go, man? But I'm glad we're letting people know.
Well, yeah. I mean, anytime you have to pay something out in order to get something in return, when it's talking about unemployment, no one's harassing you to give you money, okay? Just remember that.
Just let that be your lesson. And also, Erica's hilarious, and we all wanted more tea, like Lindsay said. DBL is new every day. We will see you same time, same place tomorrow. Bye, everybody.